Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the final episode of The Walking Dead. This video will contain spoilers as is the norm for all my videos, so please do keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. I watched the finale of The Walking Dead a couple of days after it originally aired and I hated it. I thought it was really bad. I just thought that it was written really poorly, it was very rushed, like characters were in one place and suddenly they're somewhere else and things just happen without no explanation. Plot points were just kind of wrapped up and ended way too easily, like the whole Commonwealth arc and everything with Pamela was just resolved by, a couple of lines of dialogue. It felt very anticlimactic, and it felt like an episode of Fear the Walking Dead, because like in that show where things just happen and characters are just, they're there, but now they're here, and oh, this has happened, and it just felt really, really rushed. The pacing was all over the place. I didn't like it, and it also felt like a very cynical cash grab on AMC's part to basically end the episode with a trailer, what is essentially a trailer for their new show. It just didn't really feel like an ending. Like, I hated it. I really didn't like it. But I went online and I went on the Walking Dead Reddit page, the subreddit page, and the episode discussion is full of positive comments. Everyone's saying, oh, it's an amazing ending. It was so emotional. I can't believe it. And I was just kind of sat there thinking, really? Like, I didn't feel anything. I was just really disappointed. So I decided to sit on it for a bit. I thought, you know what, I'll sit on it for a bit. I won't be reactionary. I won't make a video straight away. I'll sit on it for a couple of weeks, see if my opinion changes. Maybe I've just got my hopes up too much. Maybe my expectations were too high. I'll sit on it for a couple of weeks and I'll watch the episode again. And I've watched the episode 2 more times since, and I still hate it. My opinion hasn't changed. I still think it's a really, really bad ending to the show, and I'm going to discuss why I feel that way. So, major gripe number one that I have with this episode is that it's basically not an ending. Oh, it's the end of The Walking Dead. Well, no, it's not, because it doesn't end the show. There's no conclusion. We still got plot points that are going to be carried on into the spin-off shows. And I know not everyone is a fan of the way the comics ended. For the record, I like the comic ending. I like it when originally released, and I like it now. You can see my original review video of that at the time. I liked it. And even if you don't like the way the comics ended, at least the comics felt final. There was a jump forward of 20 years. We found out that most of the walkers had died out and that people were living in peace, and it was a thing of the past. We saw Carl, reminisce about the past, reading a story to his daughter and telling, of the stories and the adventures that he and his father went on. And it felt like an actual ending. It felt like a goodbye to these characters. But the Walking Dead ending, it doesn't feel like that. We jump forward 1 year compared to 20, and it still leaves us with, threads that haven't been solved. Daryl rides off into the distance and, find out what's happening with him on his spin-off show. We know that Maggie and Negan are getting a spin-off show, so their stories aren't finished either. And we don't see Rick reunite with his daughter. Rick and Michonne are still gone. They're still missing. And I think that, not having Rick back for the ending, you can't end the show that way. It's not an ending. If Rick isn't there, if he isn't back with Judith, it's not an ending to the show. He was the main character for 9.5 seasons, and his story hasn't been resolved. And you need to watch the spin-off show to work out how Rick and Michonne get back to Judith, and how it all wraps up. So it's not an ending. It's not an ending. Like, it's just, this show's been on for 11 years, 11 seasons, and you end it with a trailer for the new show. It's just a cash grab. It's just AMC not wanting to end it because they want to milk it as much as they can. They're like, we can't end the show here because we can get more money on the spin-offs. We can keep people subscribed to AMC Plus, and it's really disappointing. I mean, I shouldn't have expected anything else from AMC Plus. From AMC, really. This is a network that, botched Fear the Walking Dead just to try and get the views up and, do this whole crossover, botch the entire story of that show. So I shouldn't really expected anything more from them. I shouldn't have expected a satisfying ending, but I was hoping for one. If I was in charge, and people would probably downvote me or dislike me and say, yeah, this is why you're not a writer. But if I was in charge, I would have ended this episode with the 20-year time jump, the 20-year time gap that we got in the comics. Have all the characters back at Alexandria, at the Commonwealth, have Rick there, have Michonne there, older versions of themselves, have Judith grown up. That way, you get a satisfying ending to the show. You know that these characters eventually made it back to the Commonwealth safely. And if you want to find out how they got there, you can watch the spin-offs. That's fine. You can watch the spin-offs, but you don't have to because you know that they made it back there. And I think if they ended it that way, I'd actually be more inclined to watch the spin-offs. I'd be more interested in them. But because they ended it on a cliffhanger and they ended it in such a way that you don't know where the story goes without watching the spin-offs, and you have to watch them to find out what's going on. I don't want to watch them now, because I'm just thinking this is just such a like scummy move to basically not end the show and say it's still going. You want to find out what happens, watch the spin-offs. We're not giving you the ending. Carry on watching The Walking Dead forever. Like, I don't care anymore. I don't care. And I will talk about this in the conclusion of the video. I'll talk about this a bit more, but I don't give a shit. I don't care about these spin-offs. I'm just, I don't even have faith that if you can't end the main show properly, if you can't give the main show an actual ending, I don't have any faith in these spin-offs. I don't have any faith, in The Walking Dead actually having, a grand plan and having an actual ending in place. I don't think they do. I just think their plan is just to keep making shows until people lose interest, and then they'll just cancel it. It'll just get a quick cancellation, and then we won't get a satisfying ending. That's the way I think this series is going to go. They'll keep pushing these spin-offs. They don't have a plan in mind, and then it will get cancelled, and we won't get a satisfying ending anyway. If you can't give me a proper ending to your show, why should I have any faith in these spin-offs? I don't. So I don't really care about The Walking Dead anymore. Yeah, I don't care about the spin-offs. I don't care about Rick being stuck on his fucking Truman Show island where he tries to escape, and I'm like, Rick, you cannot leave. Like, I don't care. And it's just like, I didn't expect everything to be wrapped up in a neat little package. Sorry, I didn't expect every major character to make an appearance on the final episode, but I don't know, I expected a bit more. Like, there's just so many plot threads that aren't resolved, like characters we don't see. Like, they brought Virgil back especially for, was it 10C or sorry, 11B, he comes back. Virgil comes back in the Connie episode. Gets stabbed a number of times. He should have died then. If they weren't going to use him again, why not just kill him? He gets stabbed, but he somehow survives. We never see him again. So what was the point in that? We still don't know where Heath is. Not that I expected Heath to turn up, because he's kind of a minor character, but people have been asking about Heath for years. No answer to that. So I guess we'll have to wait for the inevitable Heath spin-off to find out what happens to him. We didn't see any of Oceanside in this entire third of a season, which is just crazy to me. Now, I know not many people particularly care about Oceanside. I don't really care about Oceanside, apart from Cindy, because everyone knows I have a crush on her. But I don't particularly care about Oceanside, but it's just so bizarre to me that you end 11B on a cliffhanger of Oceanside, like, getting slaughtered by Hornsby, never to go back there. All we get is a throwaway line from Luke going, "It's gone. It's all gone." That's it. We don't see Oceanside. The show's ended, and we never go back to this community again. It's just so bizarre. And, like, Morgan doesn't come back, which, I get he's in Fear the Walking Dead. Maybe his fate is unknown in that show. Maybe he'll die in that show, but he does this silly voiceover at the end where he's like, "We're the ones who live," when all the other characters do it. I'll talk about that later on. I hated that scene as well. I don't know. It's just really disappointing. Really subpar ending to the show. But anyway, let's move on and talk about the next major thing that I disliked from this episode. So, Rosita dies this episode, and I don't have an issue with Rosita dying. Like, I don't have a problem with the character of Rosita dying in the finale. Like, I don't mind having a major character die. I understand that Christian Cerritos asked to be killed off herself because she wanted the ending to have an emotional feeling to it, some kind of emotion. She wanted her character to die. It's kind of weird, actually, to think that if she didn't approach Angela Kang and say, "Can you kill me? Can you kill my character?" The only characters who would have died in the finale would have been Jules and bloody Luke, like characters who literally were gone for a year, turn up and they died. So it's really, really weird to think that, AMC was so hesitant to kill anyone, before she asked. But anyway, I don't have an issue with her character dying. But what I do take issue with is just the way it happened and the lead up to it, and I just felt it was stupid. I just felt the way it actually, the way it was carried out was very dumb. So Gabe, Eugene and Rosita are fighting off a group of walkers, and they're surrounded, and they see this pipe leading up to an open window in like the first, second floor of a house, whatever, and they decide that if they climb the pipe, they can escape. And Rosita is like grabbed by a walker. And I saw this on the second viewing. She kind of has a walker like grab at her leg, so she's like the furthest behind. She's like at the back of the group, and she says, "Go on, you go first." So Eugene, I believe, climbs the pipe first. And okay, I get that she was grabbed and she was kind of temporarily held back, and that put her in a position where she was behind the other two characters. But I still think they should have let Rosita climb first. Rosita was carrying Coco, her child, Why did she not climb up first? Why did, Eugene and bloody Gabe not turn around and help her and say, no, drag her and say, no, forward to the pipe and say, you climb first. Instead, Eugene, the largest character of the three, not being nasty Josh McDermott, but he is a big guy. Like, I met him at Walker Stalkcon a couple of years ago, and the dude towered over me. He's built like a fucking tank. Like, the dude's huge. Like, really. I'm not saying he's fat, but he's just like a naturally big built. And he climbs up first. Like, he's not the dude you want climbing up the pipe first. Put Rosita up the pipe first. She's carrying the fucking baby. But anyway, they climb up first. Rosita is the last one to climb up, which to me, again, like I said, doesn't make any sense that they would let her climb up last. And then it's like she just forgets how to climb and just falls. Like, there's no reason for her to fall. She's just climbing and then she's like, oh, I can't do it. Ugh, falls back. And it's like, are you really trying to tell me that Rosita, who is like ex-military, who is a strong woman, a physically strong and, capable woman, just doesn't have the strength to climb a fucking pipe when she has her baby on her? Like, her baby's life depends on her getting up the pipe. She would climb that pipe in an instant. She would fucking use her strength and climb up that pipe. I'm sorry, but her just falling, going, ugh, it's dumb. I'm sorry, I just didn't like it. Maybe it was more to do with the fact that she slipped. I don't know, people are probably going to say I'm wrong about this. But I still just think she should be capable of climbing up a pipe. But anyway, she falls down to the floor, and at that point I'm thinking, oh my god, Rosita is dead. Oh my god. But nope, then she kind of jumps up and she's slashing all the walkers apart, and, it's a very kind of corny, stupid scene. But I'll admit, when this happened, I was like, yeah, this is cool, go Rosita. I kind of liked it. It was dumb, but I kind of liked it. And then she climbs up on, the ambulance, I believe, and jumps over to the pipe. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, Rosita's alive. They were just trying to scare her. She's alive. But then, 5 minutes later, she reveals to Eugene that she was bitten on her shoulder, which, we didn't see. So didn't see happen. She was only on the floor for a couple of seconds, so I don't know how this happened. But anyway, she's bitten and now she's dead. And, excuse the noise outside, but it's kind of like a double, triple fake out. Rosita is dead. Oh, no, she's not dead. Oh, no, she is dead. I just feel it's, really cheap writing, and I don't like this. It reminded me of when Carl died. And, we all thought Carl was fine. It's like, aha, he's been bitten all along. Carl was going to die, but you didn't see that coming. It's like, no, I didn't see that coming because I didn't think you'd be stupid enough to write it. And it's the same way with Rosita. It's like, aha, tricked you. She's actually dead. Yeah, thanks. Brilliant. Thanks for that. Just really unsatisfying, really cheap. And like I said, I would have thought they would have learnt their lesson from, having Carl die from a bite we didn't see. And again, it just goes back to, previous fake outs. I don't like fake outs. I hate it. When Glenn dies, we thought Glenn was dead, but it wasn't actually him. It was the dude on top of him, and then Glenn's alive, and oh no, he's dead anyway. Negan kills him. It's like, what was the point? It's the same with this. What's the point? Oh, no, she's dead. Oh no, she's not dead. Oh, she's dead. Okay, fine, whatever. I just hated it. And by the time that she revealed her bite to Eugene, I kind of checked out of the show by that point. I checked out the episode because I was like, I don't care. I don't care anymore because I just feel like this kind of writing just doesn't respect your viewer when you're just doing fake outs and shit like that. It's just, yeah, really lazy way of writing. And, I saw a lot of comments on the Walking Dead official episode discussion on Reddit by people going, oh my god, I was so emotional when Rosita died, but I just felt so kind of played and tricked by that point that when she was dying on the bed, I didn't feel anything. I didn't think, oh no, Rosita. I was just pissed off. I was pissed off more than anything. I was just like, this is just fucking dumb. I would have preferred it if a walker dragged her down and ripped her apart. And it was a gory death and ripped her apart. And it's like, yeah, remember what The Walking Dead used to be like when characters would just get ripped apart to pieces. Show us some gore. I'd have preferred that, instead of, oh, she's alive, but no, she's not alive. Okay, whatever. Next up, I want to talk about the pacing, which is just so fucking all over the place, this episode. This episode is so rushed. Things just happen. There's problems that need to be solved, and how do they get solved? Well, they just do. It's we just need to solve this problem. Let's do it. Let's do it because we got to hurry up. We got to hurry this episode up. For example, Mercer is in jail this episode, and there's no build up to his release. We don't see the characters having to find a bomb, find the equipment to make a device to blow up his cell. We don't see him having to sneak in. It's just we literally just see Mercer in his cell. And then 2 seconds later, Princess is at the door going, stand back, baby. And then he's blown up and he's out the cell. It's okay. It's so last episode he was imprisoned. We're going to put you in jail, Mercer, which should be a big thing. It should be a big plot point, having a character in jail, and it's just like solved like that in this episode. And there's so many moments in this episode where things are just solved. Like things are just solved so quickly because the episode is in such a rush to get to the end. And I understand that The Walking Dead was cancelled. I understand that a lot of the characters, a lot of the actors were expecting another season, so perhaps that's why 11C in general feels so rushed. But yeah, this episode is kind of the worst example of that rushness. Is that a word? Of its pacing, of it just being ridiculously quick. I mean, another example is when the protagonists confront Pamela, and Pamela is, refusing to let the people into her estates, and again, this is just solved like that. Again, I'm going to keep clicking in this video. Keep clicking, but it's just solved instantly. Like, Daryl just walks over to her, says a couple of lines like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, and then she's like, oh, okay, and then the next thing we know, like, she's in prison. It just gets solved so quickly. Like, these are major problems, and it's just, characters just solve them by, I don't know, by 2 lines of dialogue, where they just solve them just because we need to move on. And it really does feel like an episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I said that in the intro, and I stand by it, in the way that things are just rushed over and things get really conveniently solved. And perhaps the worst offender of all is when Mercer is giving like his voiceover to a little montage and telling characters what they need to do to get rid of like the Walker herd. He's like, we gotta go down to the sewer and we gotta put petrol in the sewer and blow them all up. And it's just like this entire Walker herd is defeated in like 60 seconds courtesy of a montage. And in episode 23, the Walkers breaking into the Commonwealth was built up as like a massive thing. Oh no, they've broken through. They've led the Walkers to where the poor people are, and then like a variant Walker stands up, and Negan's like, what the fuck? And I was thinking, okay, this is going to be epic. Like next episode, they're going to have real trouble fighting all these Walkers. Nope, it's just solved basically instantly, and then they're just blown up. They're just blown up. Yep, we're going to do this. We'll blow them up. That's it. They're gone. Like, what was the point? Like, really, an entire episode should have been dedicated to this plan of them going into the sewer and getting the fuel in the sewer and lighting it up and fighting off all the variants. That should have taken up a whole episode, and in past seasons of The Walking Dead it would have done. I mean, look at the episode, is it No Way Out in season 6, where it's basically the entire episode of them fighting a herd. That's what should have happened here, but I guess, I don't know, the cancellation of the show kind of forced them to fit it all in this one episode. But yeah, I just couldn't believe that, this Walker herd, these variants that were really hyped up in the ending of last episode were just like, the problem of that was just solved via a 60-second montage of Mercer just telling the characters what to do. Really anticlimactic, in my opinion. After about 15 minutes into this episode, the characters are in like some random building and they're safe, and that's basically the Walker herd dealt with. Like the Walker herd that was at the end of last episode is dealt with. Like, we get 15 minutes, and most of that isn't even them fighting the Walkers. A lot of the time is just dedicated to, like, Daryl being, in the hospital with Judith, giving her blood, and characters talking and crying over Luke dying and whatever. So we get about a couple of minutes, maybe, of them fighting the Walker herd that was hyped up at the end of episode 23, before the rest of the episode just is them in, like, a house, and then them talking to Pamela, and, the herd that's behind the gate doesn't actually break through, doesn't get in, and then they're just blown up. Yeah, really disappointing. I mean, in this one episode alone, the protagonists start the episode by fighting off some Walkers, then Luke and Jules die, then they have to get Judith to a hospital, then Rosita, falls and dies, but she isn't dead, and then she dies, and then the Mercer gets broken out of prison, then they have to deal with Pamela, then that gets resolved, and she goes to prison, then they have to blow up all the Walkers, then we skip ahead a year, and then we end with a teaser for the next show. It's too much happening. This is like 5 episodes in one. It's too much. Like, it felt like the Rise of Skywalker, and it's just like, right, we've got to go here, we've got to go here, we've got to go here, we've got to go here. Like, the pacing is terrible. It's so badly written for a final episode. It really is. Like, and it's just odd to me that this season as a whole, season 11, spends like 9 episodes on a pointless Reaper arc, and then the finale is so rushed. We didn't need the Reapers. Give them, we didn't need that arc at all. But if you're going to do it, spend maybe 2 or 3 episodes on it, like they did with the Cannibals back in season 5. Like, that was 3 or 4 episodes dealing with the Terminus group, and that was so good. It didn't overstay its welcome. That was brilliant. I love that kind of mini arc, back end of season 4, start of season 5. We didn't need, an entire third of a season on the Reapers. You could have just spent more time in the Commonwealth and then dedicated more time to this ending. Had an entire episode of the characters fighting off the herd. Had an episode where they then break out Mercer out of prison and, he helps the rest of the people. Like, we don't see any scenes of the walkers actually in, like, the poorer areas killing off poor people and, the regular people of the Commonwealth fighting back against the walkers. We don't see that. The Commonwealth still doesn't feel like an actual place. And admittedly, a lot of that is down to COVID restrictions, but again, we're told this is like was it 50,000 strong community? I can't remember, but it never feels like that. We don't see, like, it would have been nice to see the characters, the protagonists, like, in the thick of it, with the normal people of the Commonwealth fighting back against all the walkers. But we don't see that, it's just all glossed over. Yeah. So let's now talk about some other nitpicks. So first off, I think the dialogue in this episode is pretty atrocious. I mean, it's just very cliche. Like, for instance, there's a moment where Pamela is deciding whether... Well, she's debating, like, feeding herself to Hornsby because she sees Hornsby at the gates. He's going for his arms, like, through the gate and he's screaming, doing what zombies do. And she's debating, like, whether to walk over to him and kill herself. And then Judith is like, no, it's not too late, Governor. It's never too late. And I was just thinking, not only is this just, like, really cliche, cringy dialogue, but also, this woman fucking shot you, Judith. Like, what was going on? Oh no, Pamela, don't die. She fucking tried to kill you. Like, what is happening? And also, I know this isn't related to the dialogue, but, like, how does Judith at the start of the episode, after being shot, find the energy, the strength to move, like, furniture in front of the hospital doors? This girl's been fucking shot. And then by the end of the episode, she's fine. She's absolutely fine. We don't see her get surgery. Oh, well, I think maybe Tommy does do surgery on her, so maybe I'm wrong about that. But she's been shot, and then by the end of the episode, she's just there standing, and, she's talking to Pamela. No, Pamela, don't. It's like, you should be laying down in bed. You should be recovering. You've been shot. It reminded me of that episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I don't know if it was the finale of the last season, maybe. Or it was one episode in the last season where Daniel was shot in the shoulder, and then, like, come the end of the episode, he's fine. And he doesn't... In Fear the Walking Dead, it's even worse. He doesn't get any treatment, nothing. He's just shot, and then he's just back to normal by the end of the episode. That's what this felt like. It's like, you shoot her, and she's absolutely fine. But anyway, yes, more on the dialogue. In the same kind of scene, the same kind of moment of the episode where, the characters are trying to talk down Pamela, Daryl has what is perhaps one of the worst lines in the entire show, where he walks up to Pamela and he's like, there's only one enemy. We're not the Walking Dead. Like, of course, I get what this line is referring to, okay? It's referring to when Rick gave his speech, during the storm when they're in that barn before Aaron finds them, and he's like, we're not the Walking Dead, because he's talking about, I think, his grandfather in the war or something. And this same line takes place in the comics, and I'm pretty sure in the comics as well, Rick also says, we are not the Walking Dead, and, trying to changes it, right? So I understand what Daryl is referring to, what he's referencing, but the problem is, saying this line to Pamela doesn't make any sense, because Pamela wasn't there at the conversation. She doesn't know what the phrase The Walking Dead means. You can't just walk up to a random person and go, we're not The Walking Dead, because they really, Pamela should go, what are you talking about? What do you mean we're not The Walking Dead? What the fuck does that mean, It doesn't make any sense. It's like going up to a random person in the street going, we're not The Walking Dead. Like, okay, what are you talking about, you fucking weirdo? That's what it felt like. It was so bad. We're not The Walking Dead trademark. Airing exclusively on AMC Plus. We're not The Walking Dead, Pamela. What are you talking about, Daryl, you fucking freak? Like, it's... Oh, man, it's so bad. It's the fucking Suicide Squad meme, isn't it? It's the Suicide Squad meme. What are we, some kind of Suicide Squad? It's that. Oh, it's so bad. Like, again, I get it. I get what it's referring to, but in context, it doesn't make any sense going up to someone and going, we're not The Walking Dead. Okay, what are you talking about? Like, it would have just been so much better if Daryl just said, we've only got one enemy, the dead, and then walked over to the gates. It makes more sense, is a better line, but no, the writers had to shoehorn in the Walking Dead trademark. Like, fuck off. It's so... I laughed. I laughed when he said that. I was like, I can't believe he said that. It was so bad. Also, speaking of scenes that made me laugh, the entire, we're the ones who live... We're the ones who live. Like, I felt like Rick's entire dialogue in that kind of teaser trailer was fucking horrible. And if that's the kind of dialogue that's going to be in the show, then Jesus Christ, I'm glad I'm not interested in it, because it was just kind of Gimple speak. Like, I know I rip on Scotty G a lot, but it felt like, the kind of dialogue that we see in Fear the Walking Dead, the kind of philosophical bullshit, art student nonsense. We're the ones who live. Like, people don't talk like this, or at least they don't in England where I'm from. But, yeah, I hated it. Again, I know it's referring something else. I know it's referring a previous line when Michonne said, we're the ones who live. I think it was during season 8 where, that Saviour was trying to kill her. And it's also in the comics. I think actually Andrea does it in the comics. And I didn't mind it in the comics, but even in season 8 when Michonne first said it in The Walking Dead, I felt it was just kind of corny. And sometimes, dialogue that is in the comics doesn't really translate well to screen. And I don't think it did in that instance. And I didn't like the fact that they were referencing it again. It was like in episode, was it 22 or 23, where Ezekiel referenced his previous "and yet I smile" speech when he was talking to Negan. Like, I didn't like that speech originally. I thought it was corny, and now they're bringing it up again. And it's the same here. I felt the whole "we're the ones who live" thing was just kind of really corny the first time around, and now they're doing it again. And like, they decided to end the show basically by having all the characters say "we're the ones who live." It's like, really? This is how you end the show? With this really corny, cringy line? Oh, yeah, I didn't like that. Lydia survives the entire episode and is like a post-woman in the 1 year time skip. And I like Lydia, so, I'm happy she lived. I did feel like her character, like a lot of side characters on this show, was underutilized after she was introduced. I really liked her during season 9, and then the show just didn't really know what to do with her. But she survives, and she survives, despite having her arm chopped off in like a dirty, grubby trailer. And like in this episode, she there's a period where there's a scene where she's in the house with Aaron and the two are talking, and she looks great. Like, she's got more color in her face than I have, and this woman's just had her arm chopped off. Like, how is she not bleeding out? Like, again, this should, like Judith after being shot, she should be resting all episode, but no, she's fine. And like I said, she had her arm amputated in a dirty old trailer. She didn't get an infection, she didn't bleed out. I mean, remember back in season 1 of The Walking Dead where Merle had to cut his arm off, or chop his hand off, and then like Daryl and Rick go searching for him, and they find like blood next to like a stove or something, and they work out that he cauterized his wound and he had to do that in order to survive. Like, that makes sense. But no, she just gets her arm chopped off, isn't cauterized, it's just kind of wrapped up in part of her sleeve, somehow doesn't bleed out and survives. And then when we do see her in the episode when she's back at the Commonwealth, she looks great. She looks absolutely fine. Makes sense to me. The scene of Pamela refusing to open the gates and let the people in made no fucking sense to me. She's like, oh no, we can't let them in because the dead will come in. But it's like, okay, but if you leave all these hundreds of people outside to die, they're going to get eaten by the walkers and then turn into more walkers, which then makes more problems for you, spells more trouble for you. Like, the walkers weren't even close to the people at this point. Like, we have a shot of them and they're like in the woods, like in the background at the back. Open the gates and let the people in, then give the people weapons and they can fight off the walkers with you. No, we can't open the gates. It made no fucking sense. Made no sense at all. Like, I don't know. And this has happened a couple of times in like 11C, where just characters just do stuff. And I'm like, really? Like when Hornsby tried to shoot Daryl and Carol and he ended up dying. I was thinking, really? Like, why would you do that? What's wrong with you? It's the same with Pamela. Like, it makes no sense at all. It was really dumb. There was no reason for her not to let the people in, because, like you said, not letting them in just spells more trouble. I mean, admittedly, I did like that Gabe was the one to open the gates, and I know this is obviously a callback to him, not opening church, not letting people in, and it shows how much his character has progressed. So, yeah, I like that, but yeah, it didn't really make any sense for Pamela not to open the gates and not to let the people in. So as I already mentioned, Jules dies at the start of the episode. I didn't really give a shit about her. And then Luke dies as well, and we get like 5 minutes of, Magna's group crying over Luke, and I don't know, again, I didn't really care, because Luke's been gone for a year, and he comes back just to die. It was like Morales 2.0. I don't particularly care. I didn't particularly care about his character when he was on the show, and now I don't really need to see 5 minutes of these characters crying about a character who was only brought back just to die. Again, I felt that was rather lame. Didn't really interest me. I mentioned in the segment of this video where I talked about, the ending not wrapping things up and characters going missing. There's a few other characters I actually missed out, because We don't see Negan's wife this entire episode, which is really weird. Why didn't we see her? He's gone through this trouble to save her and to get her back, but she doesn't even make an appearance. And we don't even see Negan in the time skip, I believe. We could have just saw him somewhere off with his wife, but obviously they're saving that for the spin-off show, I guess. We also don't see Shira, the fake Stephanie character. I know Pamela killed like the dude who was working with her, like the bald guy who was working alongside her, but yeah, she's just gone. I mean, I'm assuming she was killed off by Pamela, but it would have been nice to have that confirmed. We didn't see that either. So I want to talk about a couple of things that I do like before I end this video. So I've already mentioned that I liked that Gabe was the one to open the gate and let the people in. I also felt like the Maggie and Negan conversations this episode were probably the best part of the entire episode. I think Maggie's reaction to Negan was realistic. You know, her saying that even though she knows he's changed and is trying to do better, she still can't forgive him. She still can't get that image of Glenn dying and him taunting Glenn out of her mind, which I completely understand is a completely appropriate reaction, in my opinion. And I also like the fact that Negan finally said sorry. You know, like Maggie said, she was wondering whether he would ever say those words. And, you know, obviously what happened to him in episode 23, where he's powerless and about to be killed and about to see his loved ones die, is exactly how she felt back in season 7. So he's now able to empathise with her. I mean, he should have been able to empathise with her anyway, but he now obviously understands her situation, what she went through, what he put her through, and I liked that. I felt like I said, I felt these two were probably the best part of the episode. Although I didn't really get upset about seeing Rosita die, just because I kind of didn't like the cheap nature of her death overall, I do like the fact that Eugene, you know, and her had become so close, because it's not something you'd expect when these two were introduced, or, you know, on the show. Eugene was just kind of a creepy pervert, but I like the fact that these two, you know, have a brother and sister bond, and yeah, that was kind of sweet for him to be there by, you know, Rosita's side. So I did like that, but there's not really much else for me to say that I did like about this episode. The majority of it I just felt was really badly done. So in conclusion, I feel like this is just a rushed mess of an episode. Very unsatisfying, a very cheap way to end the show by basically just, you know, using it as a teaser for more shows. Not a satisfying ending at all. And I kind of feel the same way about The Walking Dead now that I do about Star Wars, which I've mentioned in a couple of other videos, and I've done some Star Wars videos in the past, but I don't give a shit about Star Wars anymore. I grew up with Star Wars, I loved it, but I just don't care about it anymore, because I don't really like the direction they're heading in. And I kind of feel the same way about The Walking Dead. Like, this has kind of killed any goodwill that I had towards the franchise. You know, this ending has kind of killed it. You know, I stuck with the show during the bad periods, during season 7 and 8. I stuck with it, I gave it the benefit of the doubt, but I just don't think I really care anymore. I don't care anymore. Like I said, I just feel like this is just a cash grab. It's just a franchise for AMC to make money, and of course that's, you know, ultimately that's the aim of all TV shows, really, to, you know, kind of make money. You know, we live in a world where, you know, that the TV networks need to survive, need to make cash, but I just feel like The Walking Dead is so blatant about it, and they've kind of, you know, prioritized money over giving the show a satisfying send-off and an ending that it deserves, because, you know, in their minds they don't want to end it, they just want to keep milking it forever. And I don't want to be watching The Walking Dead for another 10 years. I don't want to be watching more spin-offs. I don't care anymore. I just wanted this show to have a nice ending, and, you know, a satisfying ending. And, you know, like I said, ironically, if the show did have a good ending, if they did go all out and give it a really good, satisfying ending, then I would have been more inclined to, in a couple of years, you know, to watch more Walking Dead stuff and to watch more spin-off shows, because I would have felt that my time as a viewer, you know, was respected. But I don't feel like it is. I don't feel like AMC give a shit about their audience. All they care about is their bottom line, and I don't give a shit about The Walking Dead anymore. I don't care. Like I said, the Rick being on Truman's show like Island doesn't interest me. I don't care about that. If the dialogue from his scene at the end is anything to go by, Jesus Christ, I do not want to watch that at all. Daryl going to France, like, I don't really know what else you can do with Daryl as a character. Like, the dude doesn't work on his own, I don't think. Like, I find him kind of dull. Like, not that I dislike his character, but, you know, the prospect of a Daryl show doesn't get me excited. You know, just watching Daryl go around France grunting. I think The Walking David actually saw his video of Daryl trying to learn French. He did a short video of it. I'll link that in the description. That was really funny. But yeah, I don't have any interest in that. And then what's the other spin-off? Maggie and Negan? I mean, probably the best out of the bunch, in my opinion. Like, I find these two interesting, but you know, we've spent pretty much this entire season with Maggie and Negan going back and forth, and you know, I mean, the whole of 11A was dedicated to these two just talking to each other and arguing with one another. I don't really need to see a spin-off about these two either, so I have no interest in the spin-offs. I certainly have no interest in the other shows. I mean, Fear the Walking Dead season 7 was just fucking diabolical. I don't even think I'll bother with 8. And you know, I watched what was the other one, Tales. That was terrible. I hated that as well, and I just feel like I need to move on, honestly, now. Like, I need to move on. I mean, I started talking about The Walking Dead because I was a frustrated fan. I think the first Walking Dead video I made was, I made a video talking about Season 6, why I disliked it, because I felt like that season got a lot of praise, but I felt like there were problems that not everyone else was seeing, you know, with dumb kind of cliffhangers and fake outs, which would then go on to be even bigger problems in Season 7 and 8. So I made that video as a frustrated fan, because I was pissed off the way Walking Dead was heading, the direction it was heading. And then I decided to cover Season 7 and just went with it because I wasn't happy with the way the show was going. Then Season 9 came along and I really liked it. And, you know, like, most of my videos were positive, and that's largely been the case since. But I just don't really care anymore. Like, I've spoken about this show for 5 years. I don't care. I never set out, you know, on YouTube. My intention was never to be the Walking Dead guy. You know, my intention when I made YouTube was never to be a Walking Dead channel. I just made a video as a frustrated fan. It took off and I went with it. And now I found myself talking about it for 5 years. And I've gotten to the point now where the way it's ended, and, you know, this season as a whole, even though, you know, parts of it have been good, I just feel like as a whole it's kind of really messy, really all over the place with its pacing. I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of done with it. I don't give a shit anymore. I don't want to talk about the spin-offs. I don't want to make any more feature videos talking about the same thing and talking about the show over and over again until I die. Like, I don't care. I don't care. And this ending has just kind of solidified that opinion. You know, if it had ended differently, then, you know, perhaps I'd be more excited about the future of the franchise. But I don't care anymore. Like, it's obvious what AMC's priorities are. And, you know, their priorities aren't creating a satisfying show. Their priorities are just to create Walking Dead spin-offs until the show is in the ground. And I don't want to be part of that anymore. I'm not going to watch it anymore. I don't care. I recently finished Better Call Saul a couple of weeks ago, and that ending was phenomenal. That ending nearly made me cry. Like, I think the ending to that show, one of the best endings ever. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful ending. And then, you know, in comparison, I watched The Walking Dead, which is a show that I'm more passionate about than, you know, the Breaking Bad universe. You know, a show that has had more of a bigger impact on my life. And I watched the final, you know, the finale, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel emotional. I just felt, you know, like taken for a mug, like taken for a fool. Like, I didn't feel anything. Like, and you know, and this is a show that, you know, should appeal to me more than Better Call Saul does. And, you know, like I said, it's a show that's had more of an effect on me. But I just came out of this ending just feeling frustrated, feeling pissed off, feeling, you know, taken for an idiot. Whereas, like I said, Better Call Saul, I was like, wow, this is incredible. So that's how you end a show. That's how you end a show. This isn't. This is just, yeah, The Walking Dead wanting to kind of, you know, keep their Walking Dead universe going and cash in on it forever. And I don't care anymore. One of the reasons why I haven't spoken about The Walking Dead for a while now, you know, and I haven't covered all the episodes of 11C like I normally do, you know, apart from, you know, the health issues that I've been having, is that, yeah, I just found myself not really caring. Like, the spark, for me, the spark wasn't there anymore, despite the fact that these episodes were, like, fine. I just wasn't getting excited, like, every week to watch The Walking Dead like I used to be, you know, and then this ending comes out, and it's just kind of, solidified my opinion, solidified my views that I was kind of falling out of love with the franchise and just kind of not really caring anymore, and, the way it's ended the way it has, and yeah, I don't know what the future holds for this channel now. I would rather just talk about, like, entire shows going forward. Like, so I want to talk about The Last of Us, but instead of doing weekly reviews, I'd rather just do, like, review, like, seasons of shows, or, you know, entire shows now going forward. I think that's the best way to approach it. So I'll probably be doing that from now on, but I won't be doing any more Walking Dead content. Or I certainly don't plan to. I know people get a laugh out of my Fear the Walking Dead videos, but I don't even know if I can be bothered to talk about Season 8. Like, I don't even think I should be giving AMC the time of day, really, and I just don't think I should be talking about their products anymore. And yeah, I think I'm just done. with The Walking Dead, and it's kind of a shame that it's ended this way. It's a shame things have come, that I've been talking about something for so long and it's kind of ended on this sour note, but I really, really hated the ending, and I gave it time. I watched it a number of times, I gave it a chance, but I really disliked it, and I have no interest in the direction that the franchise is going. I do not care about the Walking Dead universe. I've said from the start, I thought the entire idea was flawed. The entire, AMC just trying to cash in on the whole, MCU, DCU, cinematic universe trend, trying to do their own thing. I just felt from the start it was flawed and they didn't plan it out correctly. And I don't have any interest going forward. I don't have any interest in, the overarching narrative, the overarching... Well, is there an overarching narrative? But I don't have any interest in, I guess, the CRM, which are, the organisation that's trying to bind all these different shows together. I don't give a shit about them. We hardly know anything about them still. I don't think it's particularly interesting. I don't really care. So I know I've said I don't really care. I don't care about 1,000 times in this video now. I apologise. But that's just how I feel. That's the truth. That's the truth. I mean, I could keep reviewing Fear the Walking Dead. I could keep reviewing the spin-off shows, and they do relatively well. I get a couple of thousand views. I do much better than all my other stuff. I could just keep milking it like AMC do, milking it for years and years. So I get, I don't make much money off YouTube, but I don't know, £100 a month, bit of extra money. I could keep doing it just to get guaranteed views, but I'm not going to, because it's time for me to stop talking about something which doesn't interest me anymore. It doesn't interest me anymore. So I'm just going to talk about other stuff, talk about other shows. If people don't watch it, they don't watch it. I don't really fucking care. I'd rather make stuff that I like making rather than just making Walking Dead content forever and losing my sanity talking about a franchise I don't give a flying fuck about anymore. So that's it. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to end now because I'm just rambling on. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of this episode? Are you interested in any of the spin-offs? Let me know your thoughts below. And as always, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it. Especially, when I'm not being as active and you're still supporting me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. And I will see you all very soon. I'm not going anywhere. I will see you all soon. And I will be talking about other shows. I've got, a couple of other shows already. Ideas of scripts and shows that I want to talk about. Just, big, long videos about things that actually do interest me now. And that's the way, the direction of the channel. That's the way it's going to be going forward. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you only subscribe to see Walking Dead content, you want to unsubscribe, go ahead. Go ahead, that's fine. I don't. That's fine. It's fine. If you want to do that, please do that. I don't want people. If you've subscribed for one thing and I'm not going to do it anymore, you're perfectly entitled to leave. But yeah, I'm not going to run my channel into the ground the same way that AMC have done with their franchise. So I think I'm done with The Walking Dead. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Take care. Goodbye.